Before we get started, I want to make a couple notes. First, make sure you have a pencil and paper to help you solve. Then feel free to pause the video if you need. There are practice problems at the end. And see if you can find somebody that you can talk about your ideas with. The idea of a ballpark estimate comes from this place called a ballpark. This is where people play sports like baseball. In baseball, people try to hit the ball as hard as they can. Sometimes when they hit the ball stays in the park. This is why we say it is in the ballpark. It stays pretty close. Sometimes when people hit the ball goes out of the ballpark, which means it's pretty far away. When we make estimates, we are trying to find numbers that are in the ballpark, or they're pretty close to the original numbers we had. Let me show you what I mean. First, let's think about the expression 26 plus 74. Feel free to pause the video to see if you can solve this using a mental math strategy. Some of you might have solved this problem by counting up on an open number line. Some of you might have combined tens and ones. So 20 plus 70 is 90, 6 plus 4 is 10, and then the sum of those sums, 90 plus 10, is 100. Some of you might have seen that 26 and 74, they can be used to make a friendly number. And that's a great connection to where we're going next, friendly numbers. We know that 26 plus 74 is 100, and I want to think, as a part of my estimate, what are some friendly numbers that I can use? And friendly numbers are just numbers that are easy to think about. 26, that's pretty close to 30, and 74, that's pretty close to 70. Well, this is really easy for me to think about, because I know I can start at 70 and count up 3 tens, 70, 80, 90, 100. So using my friendly numbers, I see that my estimate is 100, and that is exactly the same as my actual sum, which tells me my answer probably makes sense. Now, this isn't the only way I could have estimated. I could also have thought, well, 26 is close to 25, and 74 is close to 75, and I know from working with quarters that 75 plus 25, well, that is 100. Now, I might also start with 25, and maybe I didn't think about 74 becoming 75, and I thought, well, let's make that 70. I can do that too. 20 plus 70 is 90, 5 plus 0 is 5, and 90 plus 5 is 95. Now this time my estimate isn't exactly the same as my answer, and that's okay. They're pretty close to each other, which makes me think my answer probably makes sense. Let's look at another one. 52 plus 29. This time I'm going to give you the sum to this because we're not focused on adding the numbers, but rather checking our addition with an estimate. And so our actual answer here will be 81. Let's see if that's reasonable. 52 is pretty close to 50. And 29, what would you choose? I'm going to choose 30 here. 50 plus 30, well, let's see. I'm going to start at 50 and count up by 10. 50, 60, 70, 80. Well, 80, that's pretty close to 81. Is my answer reasonable then? It is, because 80 is close to 81. Let's try another one. 61 plus 27. Again, the sum of 61 and 27 is 88. Let's check to see if that answer makes sense. 60, what number is that close to? For me, I'm going to choose 60. And 27, that's pretty close to 30. 60 plus 30, well, that's 90. 88, is that pretty close to 90? It looks like it is. I'm thinking 88 might be pretty reasonable. Some of you might have seen that 60 plus 25 would have worked too. And that works as well. 60 plus 25 is 85, and that's pretty close to my estimate of 88. I'm feeling pretty good about how reasonable that answer is. It seems to make sense. Let's try one more. 203 plus 118. 200 is pretty close to 203. And 118, Well, I think that's pretty close to 120. 200 plus 120. Well, I know that 200 plus 100 is 300. And then there's another 20, so 320. And look, 320 is pretty close to 321. So I'm pretty confident that my first sum makes sense. Here are a couple problems that you can try on your own. Be sure to solve first, and then find friendly numbers for each of these. After you've done your ballpark estimate, or your close to estimate, ask yourself, does my answer make sense? If the numbers are close, then your answer probably makes sense. If your answers are far apart from each other, go back and check to see, was your original addition incorrect, or did you make a mistake when you were doing your estimate? And then try it again. I hope you have a wonderful time practicing these, and I look forward to talking to you again soon.